couch, I keep on playing.
Hi, and welcome to Sessions at On That Note. I'm Cindy Royal, helping you get to know the talented and creative musicians in the Austin music scene. Today, my guest is Phil Dutra. Thanks for coming by today, Phil.
You're quite welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. I appreciate it. And Phil, I got to know a year ago, and he was working, playing some gigs at Quacks on the East Side, which no longer exists as Quacks.
Unfortunately.
But our friend Neil Mehta was putting together some gigs over the summer. We had so much fun every Wednesday, and you were one of the people who showed up at that. And I just really loved your music.
Oh, thank you.
And compared to some of the other people I've interviewed on this show, you're relatively new to Austin.
Yeah.
So first of all, tell people what your background is. Where did you come from, and how did you start playing music?
Born and raised in New York City. And my dad was a musician, not a professional musician. He played violin and guitar and a little keyboard. And there was always music playing in my house. But I didn't start performing until college. I started in an a cappella group at NYU. It was 5 guys, no instruments, singing doo-wop and modern a cappella, and just fell in love with performing.
Wow, and so that was your introduction. So not an instrument, but vocal.
Yeah,
primarily.
Well, other than the saxophone in 4th and 5th grade, where I would fake my practice sheet and didn't really enjoy it.
You know, Neil was in an a cappella group. Did you guys talk about
No,
this?
I didn't know
we're
that.
going to have to get some a
Oh,
cappella
that's interesting.
singing going on.
That's interesting. I didn't know this. I didn't know that. That's
We'll
cool.
talk about next time we all get together.
Very cool.
Okay, and
Yeah.
then after
while
New
I was
York,
we started a 3-man vocal group at that point with 2 other guys that I went to NYU with, and they started writing music, and I was like, yeah, I could probably give this a shot, and I started writing songs. Never really had any formal training, and then I saw that they were playing the guitar. I said, yeah, I could probably do that too. So I just taught myself how to play guitar, and
cool.
Been doing it since.
Because that's not easy.
Yeah.
I wish I could teach myself how to play guitar and write songs. So you have to have some innate talent.
Oh, no, I guess so. I guess it was in the genes with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That helps too.
Yeah, true.
Good genes. Okay, so then what happened?
The 3 of us decided we were going to move to Atlanta. We wanted to get out of New York. And I spent about 8 or 9 years in Atlanta. And that 3-man group lasted for a couple of years, but there were some disagreements as far as who wanted to do what. And I continued playing with one of the other guys, a guy named Brian Matson, and we co-wrote together and performed together. And he started getting more into his career of working at TNT.
Okay.
And so that's when I decided to do my own thing, because we were planning on recording our first CD, and we kept putting it back. I was like, we got to do this. So I decided to do my own, and that's when I released my first CD.
And you were still in Atlanta when
Still
you
in
released
Atlanta,
the first
yeah.
CD. Okay.
And it was actually right before I decided to move to Los Angeles.
Okay.
So I released the CD, and about 4 months later I moved to Los Angeles. So it was a little tough going as far as promoting the CD.
And then you were in Los Angeles primarily for the reason to promote a music career.
That, and my partner is an actor.
Okay.
He was on the road a lot, traveling, touring, and we decided to go to LA so he could find work and be in the same city. You know, so he didn't have to travel as much. And that didn't go so well.
No, for him or for you?
For
Okay,
him.
for him.
Yeah, it went really well for me in the music, because I found a really good producer. Did my second CD there, but he wasn't getting a lot of work. And he never really took to LA.
It's a tough place.
Yeah,
I think it's a tough nut to crack.
But the good thing was we bought a condo at the right time.
Yeah.
Sold it at the right time. Found Austin. Bought a cute little house. And
living the dream.
Just been enjoying it ever since. Yeah.
Now, I know that you had won some songwriting competitions.
Yeah. Well, while I was in LA, it was actually through a group called Taxi, which gets good press and bad press. It's one of those independent A&R where you pay an annual fee and you submit your music, and they'll forward it if they think it's what the person who's searching for a certain thing for film and TV or for other artists. And one of the submissions was for a song contest for their annual convention, or they call it the Road Rally. And it was for Michael Lloyd. He's a legendary producer. He's worked with a lot of people. Worked for MGM. He was the vice president of MGM Records at the age of 19. So he started off pretty young.
Wow.
And I submitted for the contest, and I was chosen to be one of the top 5. And then they brought us in front of the audience, played the song at the conference, and I won the contest.
Wow. So that must have been quite a high point.
Yeah, it was really cool.
And also validating that like you were doing the right thing.
Yeah, it did. And the prize was getting to work with him to remix the song, which I included on my second CD. I did the original version of the song, and then I included the remix version that he did with me. So that was pretty cool.
And what was it like to work with a big-time producer?
It was really weird, but he was so down to earth and such a nice guy, and treated me, I guess, like he would any other person he was working with, that it was really easy to work with him.
It's a little bit like American Idol, where they get to work with like the producers. They have those theme nights.
Actually, that's true. Yeah, because I walked into his studio is actually in Beverly Hills, and it's part of his home, and he's got a big. I don't want to call it a complex, but just his property there has different buildings, and one of them is his studio. And I walked into his living room, and there were like 4 walls of gold and platinum records of everything he's ever worked on, everyone he's ever worked with, and that was my first experience before I even met him and started working with him. So it was a little intimidating. And then he comes in and he's the coolest guy.
Well, that's always great.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, how would you describe your songwriting influences?
I'm a pop guy. I love pop music. I love catchy melodies, interesting chord progressions.
Me too.
Clever, turns of a phrase. I grew up listening to pop, AM, what was it, WABC, back when AM radio was still pop,
I listened to that. I remember going to New York in the summers and that being like a cool station.
Oh yeah, so I grew up loving, anything from R&B pop to guitar-driven pop. Grew up in the 60s and the 70s. And a lot of that influenced me. And still to this day, I love well-crafted pop tunes, like Fastball. Here in Austin.
Love them too.
Their new CD is great.
Yeah.
Fountains of Wayne.
Love them.
Older
Jersey Boys, right?
Yeah. Older bands like Squeeze.
Love Squeeze.
Crowded House.
Yeah, you're naming all the legends,
XTC,
all the great ones. Yeah.
That's a big influence on my writing.
Yeah.
I try to borrow as much from them as possible.
Yeah, and I can definitely see that in the songs, in your songwriting, and the delivery of them.
Oh yeah.
So what are your plans now that you're in Austin? You've been here for a little more than a year?
Yeah, actually just about 2 years.
Almost 2 years,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so
and I know you've been playing some gigs and you plan to play some more, so where are you going with this?
I started, when I first got here, I started playing a bunch of gigs. I played lots of coffee houses. I got to play Stubbs with the full band. I got a full band together. I just found it really difficult to get as many gigs as I wanted to. In Austin, around Austin, I was planning to do a little more traveling, and 2008 was a little bit of a downer. I was discouraged. I got pretty discouraged, and I didn't do anything for about 5 or 6 months. And then the new year came around, and got inspired again. So I have my first gig coming up at Thunderbird Coffee on May 1st.
Okay, Thunderbird Coffee on May 1st. I'll definitely be at that.
Very cool.
I'm excited to hear you play again. And, sometimes people go through ruts and they need to take a break or step back, and then you get all new types of influences or all new types of inspiration to do something completely new and different. So I'm looking forward to the next chapter for you.
Me too.
So will you play something for us?
I will.
Okay. All right, so we'll be back in a moment with more from Phil Dutra.